Welcome. Thank you for joining us today for another video. As the channel grows, I have been looking at the ways that I can improve the quality of the content that I create for you all. With that being said, I have decided to focus in on a particular type of content moving forward. I want to concentrate on creating videos that deal with true stories that have a true mysterious component to them. The creepy mysteries that surround us in this world are what have always grabbed and held my attention. I will continue to strive to improve every day, and I thank each and every one of you for the encouragement and support you have shown the channel. With that out of the way, let's move on to the topic of today's video. With the new goal in mind, there is no better way to kick it off than with the story of an unexplained disappearance. Let's get into it. The disappearance of then 12-year-old Johnny Gosch has become one of the oddest cases of missing people that you will find. The oddity doesn't come from the circumstances of his vanishing per se, but from the claims that have been made by his mother in the years succeeding. Before we examine the validity of her claims, it is important that we understand the other facts from this event and likely crime. Johnny Gosch would be described by those who knew him as your everyday red-blooded American boy. He found a dirt bike that caught his eye, so he spoke with his parents, Noreen and John Sr., about what he would have to do in order to get this dirt bike. His parents thought that this would be a perfect opportunity to teach Johnny some responsibility and money management that would pay dividends for him as he grew into a teenager and young adult. Noreen and John decided that if Johnny were going to get the dirt bike, then he would have to work for it himself. The perfect opportunity presented itself to Johnny as the Des Moines Register, the local newspaper, was looking for paper boys to deliver the morning news. Johnny's mother would describe Johnny as a little businessman regarding the way he worked and saved to purchase that bike. Johnny and his dad began a routine where every Sunday morning Johnny would wake his father before dawn, and the two of them would set off, with a wagon full of newspapers in tow, and deliver the papers in the neighborhood surrounding the Gosch's home. Then the morning of September 5th in 1982 arrived, and everything changed in the lives of the Gosch family forever. It was a Sunday morning in Des Moines, Iowa, a day like any other day. For Noreen and John Gosch, there was no dark clouds, no creepy phone calls or sinister men looking to try to break down their door. No, this day was like any other weekend morning. All was well in this upper-middle-class Midwestern home. Then a choice would be made that would alter and eliminate every hope and dream that John and Noreen had for Johnny and their family. The Sunday morning paper route had become a time for father and son to bond, while Johnny was learning the value of $1. It was also something that made John Sr. put any angst that he might have away, knowing that he was there with his son if anything were to go wrong. However, for the first time since Johnny had started his job, Johnny awoke and broke his pre-dawn ritual. Johnny did not wake his father on that September pre-dawn morning in 1982. Instead, Johnny took the family dog, a miniature dachshund named Gretchen. The question has been asked thousands of times since that day. Why did he choose to not take his father with him on that route? It is a question that will never be answered. Regardless, Johnny would vanish not long after leaving his home that morning. A little later in the morning, John and Noreen received a phone call from one of the neighbors asking why they had not received the newspaper that morning. Immediately, John Sr. jumped in the car and hit the streets looking for his boy. Noreen called the police while John left to look for Johnny. Not long into his search, John spotted Johnny's wagon that he carried his newspapers in. Tragically, Johnny was nowhere to be seen. Several people claimed that they had seen Johnny that morning between 6 and 7 a.m. One of the Gosch's neighbors said that they saw Johnny talking to a stocky-built man driving a Ford Fairmont with Nebraska license plates. The neighbor did not think anything nefarious was going on. He simply believed that the man was asking the boy for directions. Another neighbor named John Rossi saw Johnny speaking to this man as well. Rossi did believe something strange was going on. Unfortunately, he did not act on this feeling. Years after the incident, Rossi said, "I keep hoping I'll wake up in the middle of the night and see that number on the license plate as distinctly as night and day. But that hasn't happened." As can be seen by John Rossi's words, the disappearance of Johnny weighed heavily on more people than just the Gosch family. This was a time in America when people did not think that someone would take a child from a neighborhood street. The climate was so different in 1982 that the law regarding missing children stated that a child must be missing for 72 hours before the police can investigate it as an abduction. Sadly, this mentality plagued this investigation from the start. It would not be a stretch whatsoever to say that the police were complacent, lazy, and at times arrogant when dealing with this mystery. This is no more apparent than when listening to the description that Noreen gave of her experience with the West Des Moines police at the outset of the investigation. She claims that the responding officer took over 45 minutes to arrive at their home after she phoned police. Once arriving, the officer's first question to Johnny's parents was, "How many times has your son ran away before today?" This was the beginning of what would become a contentious relationship between the Gosches, especially Noreen, and the West Des Moines Police Department. It is claimed by many that corruption ran rampant through the Des Moines police at this time. It seems that no police in the department were more dishonest than the police chief himself. He would step down due to these allegations shortly after Johnny disappeared. Noreen Gosch claims that his actions are a strong indicator of the police department in Des Moines as a whole. Most of the residents of the surrounding neighborhood would agree that the police were doing extraordinarily little to try and bring Johnny home. Almost 100% of the search efforts were coordinated and conducted by the Gosch family and volunteers. The police said they had no suspects and would essentially question no one regarding the incident. In 1989, a person would be introduced into the mystery of Johnny Gosch that would turn the whole situation on its head. Attorney John DeCamp received a phone call from a 21-year-old man named Paul Benassi. Benassi would tell the lawyer a story that had the potential to answer the mystery of Johnny's disappearance if true. Paul Benassi was serving time for crimes against a teenage boy when he made this phone call to Mr. DeCamp. He would go on to say that he was forced to participate in the abduction of Johnny Gosch. He said that he and Johnny were both victims of an intricate web of child abusers. This web holds so much information that it deserves a video of its own one day, but today we will stay focused on the claims regarding Johnny Gosch. Benassi said that young boys were being kidnapped across the country and then being sold to wealthy and elite people for their sick pleasures. He said that Johnny was specifically taken for this purpose. Noreen Gosch would go to visit him in prison to see if anything that he was claiming about Johnny rang true. Eerily, Benassi knew things that Noreen said he would only know if he knew Johnny. He spoke of Johnny's penchant for stammering when he became upset. He knew of a scar on Johnny's leg and a very specific birthmark that Johnny had on his chest. The most convincing thing was when he told Noreen about Johnny speaking of her being a yoga instructor. She said that no media nor police knew this about her. When Noreen left the prison, she immediately called the police and the FBI and begged them to go and speak with Paul. What could it hurt? Especially since they had zero leads in their investigation. Tragically, there is one thing that many would consider consistent in this story, though. That would be the police's lack of effort to find out what happened. They did not go and question Paul Benesi, even though it appeared he knew Johnny personally. The man at the center of Benesi's accusations was a powerful political financier named Lawrence King of Omaha, Nebraska. The grand jury would hear the claims against King, and they would rule that the charges were unfounded. However, King would go to prison for 15 years due to his embezzlement of over $40 million US. Paul Benesi would file a civil lawsuit against King and would win a judgment of $1 million US by default because King never answered the suit. It was during this civil case that Noreen Gosch would make some extraordinary claims regarding Johnny. She was subpoenaed to testify in the civil case against King. While on the stand and under oath, she was asked if she had seen her son Johnny since he vanished in 1982. She said nothing and remained quiet. She was then told by the judge that she would be held in contempt of court if she did not answer the question. She proceeded to drop a bombshell in the courtroom, not concerning the civil suit against King, but in the disappearance and mystery of Johnny. She said that in March of 1997, 15 years after Johnny had vanished, at 3 a.m. she heard a knock on her apartment door. She went to the door and asked who was there. A male voice answered back that it was her son Johnny. She opened the door and said that she knew immediately that it was Johnny. The 27-year-old man at the door would show Noreen the same distinct birthmark on his chest that Noreen knew Johnny had. She claimed that her son was not alone. She said that another man was with him. He did not tell her his name and he did not speak. She said that Johnny told her to swear that she would not tell anyone about his visitation out of fear for his life. She said he did not say much but confirmed that he had been abducted into a trafficking ring. She told the man that was claiming to be her son that she would call someone for help, and when she did, he and the other man left immediately. She says that she has not heard a word from him since. There's been much speculation regarding the supposed visit from Johnny. John Sr., who was divorced from Noreen at this time, said that he did not know if she were telling the truth. Many have taken her side and said that she is absolutely telling the truth, while others have said that it is the ramblings of a delusional and broken woman. This is not the only odd thing involving Noreen and the mystery of her missing son. On September 1st of 2006, Noreen claims that someone left some disturbing photos on her doorstep. The photos were of young boys that had been bound and gagged. The police did check into the validity of the photographs. They found that all of the boys in the photos, except for one, was from a known case in Florida that had nothing to do with Johnny's case. One photo was not from that case, though, and this photo is the one that Noreen claims is of Johnny. The boy does resemble her son. John Sr. does not believe that the boy in the picture is his son. Was the man visiting Noreen in the middle of the night her son? At this point, we have to stop and ask some questions. Was the man visiting Noreen in the middle of the night her son? Was she hallucinating? Was she lying? Were the photos of Johnny? Were the pictures just a cruel joke? These answers we probably will never have, and only make the mystery of what happened to Johnny Gosch even stranger. Although the unexplained disappearance of Johnny is tragic and extremely sad, some good things have come about due to the activism of his mother and several other people. Johnny Gosch helped launch the Missing Children on Milk Carton campaigns. He was the second child ever to appear on a milk carton. Also, on July 1st, 1984, the Iowa legislature passed the Johnny Gosch bill, which took away the 72-hour rule regarding missing children. The bill set the precedence that law enforcement follows today regarding the immediate investigation when a child is reported missing. Because of Noreen's activism and fighting to try to find her lost son, it has opened the door for many other families to be able to search for their missing children. Maybe Johnny is out there living his life in secret, fearing the powerful men who took him and what they might do. That is something we will probably never find out. We can only hope that he and his family can find peace one way or another. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Please like, subscribe, share, and post a comment. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you don't miss any updates from the channel. Until the next one.